Hey guys, welcome back for another video. Today we are going to be talking about BEYBLADE X XONE. This is the most recent Beyblade that's been released. This is published by For You and released on November 14th in both Japan and North America on Switch and Steam. In North America it is digital only. Japan did come packaged in a physical version with an exclusive Beyblade if you guys want to get that. Unfortunately, the game does not have an English option, but if you really want the Beyblade, it is an option. Beyblade's been around for a long time. There's been a lot of different video games released over the years, dating all the way back to conception in 1999. And a lot of times the games are mediocre at best. There's been a handful of good games, but most of them have stayed locked in Japan. For You has been the developer of the Beyblade games since Beyblade Burst, with them releasing a couple games on 3DS as well as the Nintendo Switch. All of these never ended up making it outside of Japan, and we haven't had a Beyblade game in over a decade released outside of Japan. So the release of a BEYBLADE X XONE has the Beyblade fandom pretty excited, but the question is the game actually any good? You take the role as either the male or female protagonist. In my case, I chose the male, Sheer Kamikage, and your goal basically is to start from the bottom and make it all the way to the top of the top pro ladder in the Beyblade X Tower. You start at floor 1 and you work your way all the way up to floor 100. You start this journey with your dad's former Beyblade, who actually was a pro himself. You start off going through the tower by yourself, but quickly make some friends with some other bladers who also have ambitions of reaching the top of the tower. The story is mostly told through a visual novel sort of style, and you meet a lot of different characters. The plotline itself is not super deep. There's nothing incredibly crazy going on. It feels very slice of life, hobby anime-esque. But if you're familiar with the visual novel style and you're used to that sort of storytelling, you would probably like it. It's pretty easygoing and I enjoyed it quite a bit. In terms of gameplay, there is a little bit of free roaming in the tower, in the lobby, and through the different floors as you progress. Each floor will have a variety of different trainers who you can battle with, and when you beat them, they will potentially drop new parts or items for you to customize your Beyblade, and when you beat them, you receive experience points that will allow you to move up ranks in the floors. The battle system itself forgoes the sort of user input that a lot of the previous games had, where you could potentially control a Beyblade, let's say, with an analog stick, and instead goes for a more simulation sort of mechanic where you have the option of attacking and countering in the main battle, and then once you hit a certain point on a gauge, it will open up a sort of Mushi King rock, paper, scissors system. The rock, paper, scissors mechanic has a little bit more depth than just rock, paper, scissors at face value. Each of the moves has a different damage value, and the moves potentially have buffs and debuffs as well, like increasing your stamina, buffing your power, or debuffing your opponent's power. You end up sort of strategizing a lot within the time frame that's allotted to pick your moves to try to figure out what's best optimal based on what your move is, what your buffs and debuffs are, your damage values, and what your opponent would potentially pick. I think overall the battle system is pretty good for a Beyblade game, definitely one of the better ones that we've gotten for the franchise. It's a nice mix of sort of real-time input as well as RPG elements. The customization in the game feels pretty solid. The type triangle is here with attack, defense, stamina, and then balance in the middle. And the different blades, like I said, have different buffs and debuffs on them, and no two blades are necessarily the same, so you can get multiple of the same blade and them have potentially different buffs and debuffs. So there is a bit of grinding in order to try to get a particular blade with the particular skills and buffs and debuffs that you want. And as you progress through the game, you can enhance the parts in order to make them stronger, and as you get further up in the floors, you will find different rarity parts like 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star, which increase the stats of the Beyblade pretty massively. In the overworld, you will have access to a couple different locations, including the shop, where you can buy different parts that will change on rotation as you're progressing through the floor. This is also where you can enhance parts, and during battles, you can find sort of hidden parts that you can scan to sort of reveal what it is, sort of like a gacha system, but obviously not paid in. This is also where you can access DLC blades. If you buy the Steam version, the DLC is paid. If you have bought the Switch version, the Season Pass is included with the price of the Switch game, and that DLC will be included. Every 5 to 10 floors, you will trigger an event where you will either encounter one of the original characters for the game or one of the characters from the current running anime/manga, and you will end up sort of encountering them as a boss character as you make your way through the tower. These characters will inevitably end up on the overworld, where you can rematch them at a higher skill level, and they will potentially drop you sort of rare versions of their Beyblades. My initial run-through of the game wasn't incredibly challenging. However, once you beat the main story and the credits roll, you can re-challenge the tower where everyone is at a higher level and a higher skill level, making the challenge much, much harder. At this point in the post-game as well, there's still some story elements that are left with some of the main characters that have been introduced, as well as some of the anime characters that have been introduced as well. There's also some secret Easter eggs from some of the developer teams where you can challenge the developers in the tower in order to obtain rare Beyblades like gold versions. Additionally, after you've beaten the game, you can also try to take on PvP. The ranked mode is not something that I would necessarily recommend before beating the game because most of the players are completely maxed out. 3-star highest rarity absolutely will destroy you. So stay away from the rank section until you've cleared the game at least. The casual mode seems to be a little bit more forgiving, but if you want to try your hand at the ranked system, then you can do that. I would recommend post-game. So you can try your hand at reaching the very top of the leaderboards for first place. The Switch version exclusively does have some ranked titles that you can unlock as you progress through that PvP system. However, the Steam version does not have that. The PvP and rank system is still in the Steam version, but the ranked titles are not present. Overall, I think the game is pretty solid, especially for a Beyblade game. I think it's one of the better ones we've gotten. I'd like sort of the diversion away from user input to control the Beyblade to a more sort of simulation/RPG battle system. I think the PvP introduction is a good choice as well. I think with the rise of esports and competition and sort of the nature of Beyblade itself, I think online PvP was a great choice. I think the story is good. I like the sort of slice of life, sort of easygoing plot that they went for, and overall, I would recommend the game. If you're not a fan of Beyblade, I do think the game still has some value just as an interesting sort of hobby anime game. If that's sort of your thing, if you're into Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon, I think this game would be potentially interesting to you. And if you're a Beyblade fan, I definitely highly recommend checking the game out. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. Please hit the like for the algorithm. And if you're a Beyblade fan, definitely subscribe. I have a ton of Beyblade content all the way back from the original series Plastic Gen all the way up to the current Beyblade X series. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.